Hello and welcome back to the Growing Revolution. I'm Eric Olson with Smart Pot Fabric Planters, and this week our guest is Charles Malki, who is an author, biologist, and founder of IV Organic, based in Southern California. So, without further ado, Charles, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great to meet you virtually. We've been conversing a little bit online. So, jumping in to, I guess, a non-plant topic, but I think is really important. And since you're uh, an expert or an authority, I read in your bio that you were originally planning on medical school, but ultimately ended up going to law school and becoming an attorney for a number of years. And I heard your explanation for that on another recording and really loved it. So I was wondering if you could just briefly explain your thoughts on the legal field, because I think it's something everybody should hear and it applies to everyone.
Well, exactly. When it comes to the law, after I basically from the age of 5 going forward, I was always like a pre-med, just loving, again, predominantly plants. And most of my education was in the plant sciences. But I was surrounded by, my parents, especially my mom who loved gardening. My grandfather, every day that I visited him, he was always putting in at least an hour a day, if not more, into his garden. So I mean, it was the plant sciences that drove me pre-med. And then from there, I was thinking maybe after finishing college with my biology degree of going into business school, and in talking to some family and friends, was talked into law. And law, I was thinking, would still preserve my science degree. I could still work with a hospital. I could still do anything. The law is needed in every field of everything that people do, from driving their cars to going to work to emails that they're writing, the things that they say. And I basically was quickly convinced that law school was, the direction for me. And ended up practicing for close to 10 years in real estate law, specifically foreclosures, starting in 2007 as the entire economy was collapsing. And quickly found myself, leading a law firm in South Florida, between Palm Beaches, Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami-Dade, and ran that for about 10 years before running and coming, I shouldn't say running, back home to Los Angeles, which is my home city, and that was basically the birthplace of the IV Organic brand products that is, supporting and sustaining our family and many families that work with our company.
Nice, nice. Um, so you moved back to SoCal to raise your family and start IV Organic. Are you running this company on your own with your own capital funds? Do you have partners? And then can you get into, your three-in-one plant guard product?
Absolutely. So the company started off with this product here, which is the IV Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard that offers protection to all plants from damaging summer sunburn in the summer, in the coldest days of winter, from winter sunscald, as well as basically protect your plants from most insects and rodents. And I'll get into how it does all this, but this is our patented formula that I, licensed about 10 years ago now, and with it the community, the gardening community around the country and around the world, helped launch Ivory Organics on social media, specifically YouTube. Um, right, I would say near the beginning, within the first few years, we quickly became America's leading garden product YouTube channel. We're now approaching close to 200,000 subscribers, and about 21 million views, I think, to date. And we're on pretty much all the other social media platforms as well, from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, recently Threads, TikTok, so forth. And but in regards to the products, it's basically a merger of my pre-med background. I spent 3 years in cardiothoracic surgery. I published in national journals of medicine. And with my legal background, I feel like I finally found that happy place in my life. It's something I wish I did 20 or 30 years ago, but I didn't have the experience to really bring these two things together. In regards to family, yes, this is a company that the CEO is my wife. I work for her. All the patents and licensing you'll
We
find.
all do, right?
Happy wife, happy life. And so yeah, everything is for her. And I am her employee, but I do carry the licenses and the patents and the trademarks and and then all the communications when it comes with dealing with each of the states and at the federal level and international law and all of the different retailers that we supply to. It's all legal in regards to your communications with them, and I feel like that's the value I bring into the daily interactions of the business is that we're handling it as a law firm. I don't really put it out there because most people don't like lawyers, myself included. In the sense that I'm not here to fight. It's just basically being really careful with your word choice. And I feel like that's the education that's brought to me. And I feel like I'm more so a businessman um, in addition to a biologist, because again, I was born loving plants. I mean, my earliest memory is 5 years of age doing gardening with my mom season after season and just like developing and watching the growth and watching the successes from an early age and being surrounded, like I mentioned earlier, with my grandfather and other, plant people were always the people I was most attracted to. These are the people I can talk to forever. And Ivory Organics has given me a platform where we now have a lot of friends and I know a lot of experts and I get to quickly, just like you do, get to interview some of the best people and the best minds in the world and basically bring this knowledge into my life and into my garden and into my community when I teach. So these are the value that I feel like, it's finally happening, even though it's something I wish I did 20, 30 years ago, but it just wasn't there yet. All these experiences had to happen first. And this is what we love doing. And aside from being a family owned business, we're based in North Hollywood where we have a factory and our employees work every day manufacturing, all of the parts from our 3-in-1 plant guard to our ready to use sprays to our fertilizers that are blended. All of that's happening in North Hollywood. And from there, getting distributed to states across the country and around the world, including Australia, Arab Emirates, and so forth.
Well, and what year was the company started in?
2015 was our
Okay,
first year selling the Ivory Organic brand products.
nice, nice. What kind of difference will growers notice if they're applying the 3-in-1 plant guard product versus just letting their trees do whatever they do in the sun?
So the 3-in-1 plant guard is based on a gardening concept known as whitewashing. And I've taught in nurseries with employees with 20, 30, 40 plus years of experience. And I throw out the word whitewashing or have you ever seen painted trees? And I would say 90% of them will say, I've never seen a painted tree or what the value of whitewashing can do on my plants. And it's really that one word, kind of like most people on this planet. And something I've learned pretty early on is that we all need to specialize in what we do with our lives. Whether you're a doctor, you don't want to be the jack of all trades because you end up not being a specialist. And what we did is we brought whitewashing to the forefront. And on YouTube, the first 200 of our now 400 and plus videos, the first 200 were simply painting trees. We painted avocado trees, painted an orange tree, an olive tree, roses, you name the plant, we painted it. And that threw us in the first place of all the gardening YouTube channels, garden product YouTube channels. I just want to clarify with all the products you see at the big box stores and all of their YouTube channels, we're sitting in first place with the most subscribers, most views. And that's something we pride ourselves in as we work our way into more garden centers around the country and around the world. But what we brought to the forefront is the gardening concept known as whitewashing. And then what we've done that's different from the practices that America has been using, in their commercial orchards and even backyard growers for the last about 50 years is replacing the use of latex and tar-based products as the goal with the organic farmer and the goal with the backyard growers to grow the healthiest plants and to be putting latex and tar-based products on it, or these are products that are designed to last 100 years or more, and you're going to paint your tree trunks and as the tree grows, it's going to slough off, or if you spray it on your plants, it's going to contaminate your garden soil indefinitely. And when that soil, the rain leaches those compounds out, it's contaminating the community, it's contaminating your lakes, rivers, and ultimately the one ocean we share. So the goal is we came up with an all organic Armory certified, which is the highest national organic certification that commercial organic orchards can rely on, in addition to backyard growers. And then the value our products bring is by whitewashing your plant, what it's doing is, and again, I'm just going to simply use the word painting, it's going to protect your plants in summer from taking direct beating from, in the summer, most places are dealing with 14 hours of hot daylight. And just like your skin, you will burn. And most people don't think about that when it comes to their trees. And even if the bark, and you'll see a lot of trees will experience cracking on the sunny side, even to the point that the bark may even fall off and the tree's really only thriving off the shady side. Here in the northern hemisphere, that's the northeast side of the plant, will typically remain unharmed, but it's the sunny southwest side of the plant. Again, here in the northern hemisphere, it's the opposite in the southern hemisphere, such as Australia. Um, but the point is, the tree is burning and experiencing first, second, third degree sunburns just like people do. And if you whitewash it and basically help the plants curb these weather extremes, the plants will grow better, they'll flower better, they'll fruit better. They're going to be a lot happier that they're not putting their resources towards repairing skin damage, or in the plant's case, their bark damage. And you're basically protecting them using the Ivory Organics, again, an all organic basically formulation that, as it again, it's going to slough off the plant, find its way in your garden soil in a much healthier way that's not going to contaminate your organic experience in your backyard, growing the healthiest plants.
Yeah, honestly, before I kind of came across your products, like I had seen painted trees in orchards in like Central California, but yeah, just never even thought like, oh, all those heavy metals are in those paint products, and yeah, where is that ultimately going?
For sure.
Um, so I saw that you've got the three-in-one plant guard in the can, but you've also got a ready-to-use spray bottle. What's the difference between those two products, if any?
Correct. So here's the can is basically a concentrate that, I mean, you can fill it up and have a can of paint that you'll use as a brush on, and there's directions on the back side. And you can read more about it if you go to ivorganics.com, and there's PDFs of all these labels. You can read them and understand the product better. But this can makes about 22 to 25 of these spray bottles, which is the ready to use spray, up to 5 gallons of basically total plant protection. With the spray, you can now spray your newly planted trees, your tomatoes, your peppers, your squash, your roses, anything, and basically whitewash the entire plant structure, basically lightening it some. It's still going to look as if you've done nothing from a couple of feet away. But if you look at closer examination, there is ingredients that you're going to see on there that are going to look like as if you basically sprayed it with milk, let's say. And like a watery milk. And what it's basically doing is it's reflecting some of the excess heat off the plant. By reflecting some of the light and removing some of the heat, the plant is again going to perform a lot better. And I mentioned when you're transplanting, it's going to reduce transplant shock. And just in general, when it comes to weather extremes, such as really tender plants, such as your avocados and citrus and mangoes and so forth, by spraying those new growth tips, even bananas, you're going to help it basically reduce the sunburn damage during the hotter days. And then for another quick educational point, when it comes to whitewashing, this is something I teach when I enter nurseries or other garden centers. It's worth mentioning that, and you can Google this as well. The number one time for whitewashing trees is actually in the fall, and this is just generally for United States growers, as the number one reason that most commercial orchards whitewash their trees is to curb the weather extremes in the winter, and to protect the plants from freeze and that damage that can result to the plants that would affect the spring bloom and ultimately fruit set. So the most popular time among commercial orchards for whitewashing trees is fall, whereas for our company, most of the people are just thinking right here, right now, and they're looking for the summer protection by whitewashing their plants, usually in the spring, early summer, because the hottest days are actually going to be happening when people are watching this, which is August and September, are predominantly, even though it's been really hot so far these last couple of weeks across the United States, but the hottest days are usually still yet to come. And so if you haven't whitewashed your trees, this is still a great time to organically protect your plants.
Nice. Now, of your customer base, is it mostly, residential end users, or do you also have commercial accounts with commercial orchards?
Great question, and the answer is both. We do cater to those organic commercial orchards as well as backyard growers. In regards to the commercial application, the goal is again we're helping them basically as they're banned commercial orchards, organic commercial orchards, from using latex and tar based products on their trees. Again, for that very same reason that our products were, created, not even thinking about the commercial actually grower. We were originally designed for the backyard grower. Obviously, we're always receptive to helping all growers, and we found our ways into walnut orchards, avocado orchards, and you name it. We're there supporting their organic efforts and basically helping grow the healthiest plants.
Yeah, awesome. So Charles, you've got a couple of all-purpose organic fertilizer products, which you were kind enough to send me a sample of, and I loved the ingredients. I loved the ease of use, and my plants have done extremely well this summer. Can you explain your thought process and on how you put together those products?
Thanks for mentioning the fertilizers. The After we've come up with the Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard, and just to let you know, again, before I talk about the fertilizers, the Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard offers that protection again from damaging sunburn, insects, and rodents. One of the key ways the 3-in-1 Plant Guard works is it's got 7 natural oils that most insects and most pests, including rodents, are repelled by, which include castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. Castor and the mints basically are rodent repellents. All the other ones are, including the mint, are also insect repellents as well. So when a pest, whether it be an aphid or a beetle or mites or grasshoppers, smell these scents on your plants, they're basically repelled naturally by these 7 oils, assuming that it's that plant, and basically tricking it to leave those plants that are protected with these products. And that's the value that the 3-in-1 Plant Guard has. There's also a whitewash formula as well, which is our blue cans, which are oil free. Some people don't have a pest problem, but they still need the whitewash protection in an all organic way. And so those exist. And then from there, people wanted the ready to use sprays, so that came about.
And how
Something
often should I forgot to ask, how often should people apply this product?
So for the protection from weather extremes, 1 application per year should be sufficient. If you're dealing with a pest problem, you probably, again, since there was oils, and one of the concepts with the oils in the product is that the product base is encapsulating the oils, giving the oils a longer life on your plants. If you simply do a horticultural spray using oils, they typically dissipate quite quickly. And by encapsulating those oils as they're being brushed onto the plant, you're basically creating layers of oils and offering longer protection. But the application, if it's a pest issue, should be closer to about maybe 2 to 3 months between reapplying. And so that answers those applications. And then coming back down to the fertilizer, we worked with 2 of the biggest distributors of gardening products in the country prior to 2019. And I basically pitched the idea that we're going to bring fertilizer to the market, not letting them know what we were doing different from all the products that were already existing out there. And I still remember one of the distributors saying it's a dog eat dog world when it comes to fertilizer, as there is at least 100, if not 1,000, fertilizer brands in the country right now. And I'm like, we need to enter, like in my mind, I'm like, we've got to enter this market because a lot of the education, I would say up in the 90s, if not 98% of the education out there that gardeners are watching right now simply say that plants have 3 macronutrients. And even the farmers and even the nursery goers and, like all of these experts are saying plants have 3 macronutrients, and you can Google it and what are the plant macronutrients? And Google will never tell you that it's 3. It's always 6. And I'm like, there needs to be a product out there that makes it very clear to gardeners that there's an organic alternative with all 6 plant macronutrients so that you can apply it and not have to buy multiple fertilizers in order to give your plants everything they need. And that's when we came up with the Ivory Organics all-purpose fertilizers that give your plants all 6 plant macronutrients and not just the NPK. With our super blend, we also took it a step further and partnered with azomite, which a lot of more experienced growers understand the value of azomite, which is simply crushed volcanic rock. And that basically, imagine the plants that are, thriving in Hawaii, for example, living on a volcano. A lot of those micronutrients offer a lot of health to plants too. And by having the azomite in our product as well, we're offering the plants all 6 plant macronutrients in addition to a lot of the micronutrients as well. The 6 plant macronutrients, since I mentioned it, let me just quickly share with you. So we've got the NPK and this is on your periodic table. You'll see N stands for nitrogen, helps with the greening and growing of your plants. Phosphorus is, element P, is going to help your plants with the flowering and the fruiting. And then you got potassium, element K, on the periodic table, and that helps with disease resistance and root development of your plants. And then the next 3 macronutrients, and again, the definition of macronutrients are elements that should be in abundance in the soil, include calcium. It's in the cell walls of all plants. So if you can imagine you're lacking calcium in the soil, plants are still not going to grow as well. The next one is sulfur, important in a lot of the metabolic processes of the plant, in addition to the greening of the plant. So sulfur is another macronutrient. And the last one is magnesium. And magnesium is the heart of the chlorophyll molecule. So these are the elements the plants need in abundance. And Ivory Organics came with an all-organic, OMRI certified, again, the highest national organic certification, products for, again, commercial organic orchards as well as backyard growers that want to grow the healthiest plants. Ivory Organics has come up with an organic fertilizer that'll basically accomplish your goals in a single product. And so we've got the super blend and the premium blend. The super blend is the yellow one with azomite. And then there's the blue premium blend fertilizer, which just has the lower NPK, still offers your plants all 6 plant macronutrients, but does not include the azomite.
Yeah, and for anybody who's like, on synthetics and they're used to like a 10-10-10, most of that 10-10-10 ends up getting, washed out and leached out through the soil, and your plants don't even use it. So really a lower NPK organic fertilizer, I think, is what, most growers should be using.
Absolutely.
So I saw a video of your lemon trees and was just blown away by how short you kept them, but also how productive they were. How old are those lemon trees, and do you have any tips for pruning of citrus or trees in general?
Um, I'm glad you mentioned lemons. The reason lemons entered my backyard, and just to let you know, of the about 25 fruit trees I have in my backyard, about 5 to 7 of them are lemons in ground that I maintain at a height of about 5 to 7 feet. And these are semi-dwarf lemons. If unpruned, can easily reach heights of about 15 feet. But the cool thing with trees when it comes to growing tips is you can prune your fruit trees, even if they're standard, you can probably get it down to about, one of my Meyer lemon trees is on standard rootstock, and I intentionally did that just because I know that it has a more compact growth habit, and I wanted that vigorous growth, and I knew I can keep it in check. And I kept my Meyer lemons at about 6 feet, 5.5 feet, top 7. And this is on standard rootstock. And this is by, selective pruning throughout the year. And then the major pruning is after harvesting those lemons, typically between December and February. I'll then do the major pruning of branches that might be over 2 years old. But anything under 2 years, you can selectively prune throughout the year with minimal harm to your plant. Um, in regards to lemons, the reason they have such a huge footprint on my property is we use lemons a lot. We go through at least 1 to 3 lemons a day. We do not have salad dressing in our refrigerator for the last at least 10 years. And we basically make our salad dressings using lemons. And if you research this as well, one of the healthiest anti-cancer foods that you could be consuming are lemons. And so the fact that we're integrating something that's virtually available, especially in our climate here in Southern California, you're in Florida as well, throughout basically most of the South United States, you can enjoy citrus virtually year round, planting your citrus in your backyard. And we've also got a helpful link on the Ivory Organics YouTube channel, with growers that have published articles, that we've again published on our channel, where you can grow citrus in most trees in any climate, by simply growing them in container, which we'll be talking about later. But by growing things in container, you can bring them in during the harshest climates, coldest, days of winter, and still bring it out during the other, 7, 8, 9 months of the year, and still enjoy fresh citrus, or again, any other plants you want to enjoy, by growing them in containers. So container gardening is a way to really enjoy even the things we're enjoying in warmer climates in any growing zone.
Yeah, 100%. Now, you had mentioned that lemons have anti carcinogen properties. Is that the vitamin C or is that something else in there?
It's more than just vitamin C. I don't have my research in front of me right now, but I just remember one of the things I read is something that it's a negative ion fruit, is something that you'll see in your research. And of all of the fruits out there, it's like the only one that basically kills free radicals in a way that's completely different than most other fruits, whether they be blueberries, which are also high in antioxidants. But lemons just have something that a lot of researchers say are a lot different anti-cancer properties than the other anti-cancer foods that we hear about that are high in antioxidant properties, which lemons are usually not associated with. I just remember again, it was basically defined as a negative ion fruit, and that somehow that value makes it anti-cancer. In addition, obviously, we know vitamin C is very healthy for you too. And then the greatest value, obviously, of just growing food in general. For us, we love lemons. My kids love fresh squeezed lemonade too, which we do almost every night. But just the value of growing your own food is priceless. The stuff you're getting at the grocery store, even though they're covered in wax or whatever they've done to them to preserve them, most fruits have been picked at least a week ago. Some of them could be from a month ago. Some of them, I've heard even kiwis can remain in storage for up to 6 months. And consider the fact that once the fruit is picked, it's dying. And so you're basically losing all the nutritional value and all the health benefits that food can give you. And this is actually the drive that was basically taking me towards that pre-med path, is the value that plants can have to our health. And the it's just, I feel like I'm on exactly the same path as when I was a child, which is growing your own food, enjoying the best flavors, and giving me and now my family the best health, and then educating my neighbors and educating my community. And the Ivory Organics, YouTube platform and other social media platforms allow us to just educate and teach and help more people faster, which I feel like I am still practicing medicine, even though I'm not a doctor.
Well, plants and people have a lot of similarities that I've learned over the years. And actually, kind of a question popped into my mind as you were just talking. Are you familiar with the Appeal product that's being kind of launched into our food production systems where they're spraying this product on fruits and vegetables to increase the shelf life of it?
So I'm not familiar with that particular brand, but I know my wife is born and raised in Sweden, and I've learned about European agriculture. And I know that a lot of the products that farmers are using in America are banned in Europe and most of the rest of the world. And it really makes you question, what are we eating? And another one that anybody, especially new growers or people that aren't familiar with health, you can research keywords, the dirty dozen, and quickly see, like, apples, for example, on average have about 12 pesticides on them, or maybe even in them, and that you shouldn't be consuming non-organic apples. Who would have thought that you could be eating something that's supposed to be good for you and making yourself sick? And it's kind of sickening thinking that our food out there is not good for us, and that America is allowing this, and we all got to be taking steps to, one, either grow our own food, which is you're going to get the best and you're going to know what's going into it. And the next one is obviously getting to know your local farmers, local food supply, shopping your farmers market, getting to know your growers, and it's possible, for most of us, even living in large cities, to know where your food's coming from, and that'll add value and health and longevity and all of these good things that we all want in our life. And but if you want to mention a little bit more about appeal, I'd love to hear more about it.
Well, I was hoping you knew a little bit more than I do, but I just kind of know a base level of the product and that it's being rolled out with avocados currently, and I believe limes. But the goal is to have it be sprayed on basically all agricultural products. And from what I've seen, the breakdown of the fruit or vegetable, through the natural process of degradation doesn't happen. So they claim that, this spray is made from all natural products, of which I can't recall what it is right now. But just in my mind, if something isn't breaking down outside of our bodies, how is it going to break down inside of our bodies? So I I'm skeptical of new technology unless it's been, thoroughly tested and vetted for long term effects. So maybe this is a conversation we'll pick up down the road, hopefully. So kind of a good segue. We're talking about keeping people healthy. You're an author as well, and I was wondering if you could talk about your book and how do you think we can save the world through gardening?
Yeah, so that's the title of the book here. It's Saving the World with the Home Garden. And it goes back to just in general, the principles that there's so many growers out there that are picking up the wrong products, like Appeal, for example, which is a synthetic product that offers longevity, and storage life and all that other stuff, but it's not organic. And if it's entering our digestive system, we're potentially affecting our health too. And there may be, obviously, there's got to be research and studies and so forth, supporting the fact that the FDA is going to allow these products into circulation, but it doesn't necessarily make it healthy or good for you. And some of the long-term effects we won't know. And again, it's only one product, and it goes back to the fact that, for example, with the apple and the dirty dozen of fruits and vegetables to be mindful of when consuming non-organic, fruits and vegetables, is what's the compound effect when you're putting in all of these different products that your body is, again, these are all foreign, man-made products that your body's going to have to like do something with. And every year there's another interesting thing happening is the diseases. There's new diseases that are being discovered, and new diseases that never existed before. And in part it's because we're introducing all of these foreign things into our systems as well, which are creating also the disease. Saving the world with the home garden, the goal is to basically be bringing in the best. The goal is with your home garden is you have a chance now to grow things that are better than Whole Foods, better than the organic market because you picked it fresh, you picked it that day. As I saw in one of your interviews, you're picking living fruit. It's still like growing in your hand as you're eating it, whereas the stuff in your market's been dying again for days, weeks, or months. And so you're bringing the healthiest nutrition, the best value. You're growing it, or at least source it from hopefully your local farmer. And what the book does is it basically summarizes. I've now got close to 400 plus videos on the Ivory Organics YouTube channel. A lot of the lessons I've noticed are becoming, and I told you the first 200 are simply painting trees, but all of them have additional gardening facts in them aside from just painting trees. But the goal is that a lot of these lessons start overlapping. There's only so much you can possibly do or say. And some of the themes, I'm just going to quickly just read the highlights of these 9 chapters. Is one touching on natives, the value of native plants in your backyard. I can delve deeper if you want to hear more about it now. Pests, every organic garden must have some pests in their garden. Feeding your plants and they'll feed you. Feeding your soil and not your plants. The next chapter is compost and mulch. The perfect soil is 95 to 99% native. A lot of people think that they got to keep introducing more soil product, and have answers to that. Pruning your trees year round. How to make free quality plants by way of seeds, cuttings, air layering, and grafting. So I delve into all these different means of creating more plants. And then the last chapter is on Ivory Organic brand products, where I kind of give a little bit more into the history and details and value that the ivory organic breed products can offer any home gardener.
Nice. So it sounds like a nice, concise, action-packed, book that some people get overwhelmed by, books, but it's like you really only need a few key points from any book to really take away that knowledge. So it sounds like you're hitting a lot of the main topics that people should be aware of. So um, transitioning into your YouTube success that you'd mentioned, and I love how you talk about yourself as being a teacher, because I think that goes a lot towards karma. The more we teach people, the more we're able to learn at the same time. And who have you leaned on as like a mentor or teacher in the past or present to look for either information or inspiration for your videos?
Relying on you. Um, when it comes to inspiration, I would say it's got to start off with mom. My mom is the green thumb in the family that I grew up with. My grandfather, who lived a long, healthy life, who was gardening until the last 24 hours of his life, and he made it to the age of 92. And when it comes to inspiration, I like to feel like I'm piggybacking on the experiences of my family and my upbringing, and then it goes back to the university. I graduated from the University of California, Irvine. Most of my courses in the botany, that before there was horticultural degrees and farming degrees, I basically had to select courses. Whenever I saw plants, I always took it. And because again, I knew the value that plants had in medicine, since I was still a pre-med mindset at that time. And then from there, if you take a look at the Ivory Organics YouTube channel, I would say one of the most influential people I met was Tom Spellman, Dave Wilson Nursery. I got to meet with Floyd Zager, who is the leading pioneer, if you've ever heard of pluots or pluaries or apricots, picotums, all of these fruits that for 40 years he's been basically hybridizing. This is an organic way, just like a pink flower and or let's say a red flower and a white flower might hybridize by way of bee.
Yeah,
Um,
selective breeding versus GMO.
Correct. So it's just simply taking like the pollen from a cherry tree and introducing it to a peach tree, and all of a sudden you've got a hybrid peach cherry. And one of my favorite fruit trees I'm growing in the backyard, aside from lemons, is this sweet tree pluary. So you got these plums about the size of a cherry, and the flavor is like through the roof. It's an amazing like hybrid cherry plum.
Wow.
Me and my family love, and this is something invented by Zager Genetics. And then there's people all around it. There's someone like the Busy Gardener, who he's the one that introduced me to Tom Spellman. Tom Spellman took me to Floyd Zager, and there's I would say close to at least 50. I don't want to say 100 of people within this network. I don't know if you want me to list more influencers, but you're one of them now too. Like the fact that we're here together today, um, we count on you, and we're going to support you just as you've supported us by putting us here on the Growing Revolution podcast.
Really appreciate that. And kind of the goal of doing these podcasts was to preserve the stories and kind of the memories of the people in this industry. Because when we do trade shows and go to stores and go to farms, just like we hear so many good stories and meet so many great people that, maybe don't get the promotion in the universe that they should be getting.
For
Most
sure.
of the stuff we see on TV and on the internet is like bad and terrible things. So we need more promotion of people that are doing good work, God's work on the
For sure.
planet. So um, getting back into sales, I thought you guys were being sold all online, but it looks like you're in a bunch of stores in California, but also Texas and Washington. How did you get onto those shelves?
So I mentioned prior to 2019. So for 2015, I'd say by 16 or 17, and you also mentioned, I think, investors and stuff as well. I'd say in our first few years, we at least 2 or 3 times I picked up and worked page by page through Shark Tank application. And from what I've learned, and I even got to meet some people that would help push the application through. Um, would have a value of close to $8 million to get on Shark Tank. And I feel like this is a Shark Tank novel idea. It's we patented, so it's a not it's ours. It's licensed. It doesn't exist. It has tremendous benefits to plants, curbing weather extreme, keeping pests off in a single product, and so forth. And then all the other products that we've got. The Ivory Organics brand, just to quickly share with you, rests on four principles, which is being innovative, organic, effective, and USA made. And when it comes to investors, again, it's only in those first few years that we considered it. But at this point, it's not needed. We know exactly what we're doing. Within the first year or two, we interviewed the first distributor that immediately took us on. As soon as the second distributor, the second biggest one in the country, heard about the first one, they quickly took us on too. And then from there, we're picking up about 200 to 300 stores every year, including all of the South Home Depot stores, Southern United States. I don't know if it's 200, 300, 400 more stores. And then plus the sales team that, is monitoring to make sure that shelf space remains ours indefinitely. And what happened was through the distributorship is we just started losing the value of the MSRP. There were people jumping online and then competing with the stores to the point that they were simply taking the wholesale price and adding a nickel to it. And then just driving the value down, basically handicapping all of the brick and mortar stores across the country. And it just wasn't right. And so we basically, for 6 months, were writing letters to all the people that were buying it, trying to get them all to stick to MSRP. And at the end of the day, what we did was we pulled the plug on the distributorship. We had to rebuy all of the inventory in the country. And it was chaos for just a few months. But again, thanks to the blessings of God and the blessing of our gardening community, we reached new heights that were unimaginable without a distributorship. So now we're relying more so on nurseries to reach out to us. We maintain the direct relationship with them, and they can reach us through ivoryorganics.com. There's a couple ways to reach out to us by email and phone number, and and then we grow. And once we have the relationship, we maintain the relationship with them as they maintain with us, and we continue the education. But the distributorship was, if we got deeper into it, and keep in mind, I told you I bought all that inventory back in order for us to go distributorship free. But had it gotten too big, it probably could have not been affordable to make that decision. And so I feel like we were lucky at the time in our company to be able to do it. And I remember still it was April, so it was still the beginning of the season. So even though we went in the hole by May or June, we were at new heights also, thanks to the gardening community out there and their support. And again, all of our social media platforms and all of our networks with all of our other social media platforms that, we, tell them to share, and they do. And it's simple as that. With or without product, they support us and they believe in us. And I think right now on like Amazon is one platform that our products can be found. We prefer you shop directly with us. But on Amazon, the only reason I'm mentioning it is there's over 1,000 5-star reviews on the Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard, which was the first product we introduced, to these social media platforms. And that's all organic and natural, in regards to those reviews. We don't pay for them. This is something that's, third party, different platform. And we're happy to share with the gardening community that our products work, and we're proud to stand behind it. And we work hard, to make sure that everybody has an excellent experience using the Ivory Organic brand products.
Yeah, unfortunately with Amazon, it's like one of those deals. If you're not on Amazon, it could be a disaster, because then, copycats and imitators can, claim that they're you, and we've experienced that as well. Charles, this has really been a great interview. I've learned a ton more about you and the products in general. Where can people learn more about IV Organic and purchase your products? And then you mentioned you're basically on all the social media platforms. What's your website?
For sure. So the website is ivorganics.com, and the I and the V is, most people see the I and the V as Roman numeral 4, so for organic.
That's what
Um,
I thought it was originally.
the background story on it is my daughter's name are Isabel and Victoria. And the goal and the pride behind the company is to have a company that hopefully will last a second and even a third generation and beyond. Something that the planet needs and will hopefully, continue to support, and invest in and grow with. And again, you're supporting also the quality and the craftsmanship and the licensing and all the, when I say licensing, I'm talking about the organic certifications, and there's a lot of effort that goes into the products that we bring, that you otherwise wouldn't find on, I would say again, about 80 to 90% of the products you'll find on the big box, store shelf. Other places you can learn more about Ivory Organics is obviously on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and most recently Threads. So basically, whatever your favorite social media platform is, check us out there. And something else I want to share is within the next 30 days, I'll be doing a smart pot demonstration on the Ivory Organics YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe and hit that push bell notification. And just to let you know, in some of my research, and we've got a marketing team as well, the number of people that actually subscribe is something close to, I'd say, about 1%. You can simply take a look at our views. I think on our channel, we've got a little over 20 million views, and divided by, you basically take the subscribers, which we're approaching now 200,000, by the number of views, and you'll see that it's only about 1%. And you can do the same thing on the Smart Pot YouTube channel. You take the number of subscribers and divide it by the views, and you'll see that again, it's close to about 1%. Some research will say it can be as high as 14%. Um, but the point is, it's very low. There's a lot of you right now that are watching, and I'm hoping you made it to this latter part of the video. Please take the few seconds it takes to hit the subscribe button. It's free to you. Hit the push bell notification. That way you get reminded of all the lessons as they get published. And then do the same thing for us on the Ivory Organics YouTube channel. By us growing our network, by growing our reach, our value goes up, and it makes a big difference in our lives and the work that we're bringing you. And again, I want to thank you so very much, Owen, Eric Olson, for having me here today and being a part of the growing revolution and the smart pot products, which are, again, also made in USA for growing plants. The quick point I want to make with it is one of the main things with growing plants in container is that you deal with root-bound roots and coiled roots that can affect your overall health, and especially when transplanting and moving them to its next home, that's an issue you won't have using the smart pots. And this is that's just a couple of points among many others that I'll be sharing with my next YouTube lesson I'll be publishing within the next 30 days.
Yeah, I definitely am looking forward to seeing what you do with our products there. Charles, again, this has been a fabulous interview, and looking forward to speaking with you in the future, hopefully about some more topics, and hopefully we can meet in person one of these days.
I look forward to that. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.